Welcome the chosen ones. Take cautious with the silent ones. They're generally the ones forming civilizations in their brains while you're creating noise. However, you most likely underestimated someone. They do not boast or explain, and they definitely don't overshare. Nonetheless, they know. They stroll into a room and change the vibe, as if they've brought a secret that the rest of us sense but can't quite put our finger on. These are the selected ones. People can't quit whispering about them, watching from a distance, attempting to figure out what they know but aren't saying. Here's a crazy fact. According to behavioral psychologists, people trust quiet folks more when their presence is deliberate rather than passive. That is, even if you don't say much, your aura speaks plenty. I understand precisely what is going on. People can't help but put depth, power, and mystery on you. And guess what? That perspective may affect everything. So, it isn't about being antisocial. It isn't about being deep. It is about conveying significant weight without ever raising your voice. And, let's be honest, it's occasionally entertaining to see folks squirm, wondering what you're thinking when you're just picking between tacos and pizza. But there's something genuine below the comedy. When you are genuinely selected, your quiet is not empty. It's loaded, strategic, and sometimes prophetic. Let's speak about why people can't quit staring, muttering, and wondering about you, since they know you know more than you're saying. Number 1. You listen as if you were mapping the weak points. Listening is not something you do casually. It's not only about hearing words and nodding at the appropriate times. You are studying. You're keeping note of what is and isn't stated, as well as what is completely ignored. People feel it, even if they can't articulate it. You aren't simply present. You are mentally mapping patterns, paradoxes, and insecurities. You're focusing on the rhythm behind the discourse, rather than simply the surface noise. And this confuses individuals more than they would acknowledge. Most people are used to listeners who are partially distracted, waiting for their time to speak, ready to share a tale about yourself. They sense something different when they're around you. You are calm, but not passive. Your gaze do not wander. They lock on, and the way you focus causes them to second-guess what they're saying in mid-sentence. They feel as if they are being read rather than just heard. That is because your mind functions like a strategist. You're not attempting to win the discussion. You're attempting to comprehend what motivates it. You're looking for motivations, plot holes, and emotional pressure points. It is not about being manipulative. It's important to understand the whole picture before deciding what role you'll play in it. You don't spend your energy reacting to every little thing. You keep your wisdom for when it counts. And when you do talk, it generally cuts straight through the fluff and strikes a nerve. That's what causes others to speak about you afterward. That's what keeps you on their thoughts. They don't only recall what you say. They recall how seen they felt while you were listening. Also how exposed. Because they know you were more than simply a part of the occasion. You were seeing the whole field. You do not listen for entertainment. And you listen as if you had the ability to destroy the whole thing. That type of knowledge lingers, and whether they confess it or not, they know you captured more than you revealed. Number 2, you don't demonstrate your expertise. You make use of time to your advantage. You don't talk to impress others. You only talk when required. And when you do, it is never at random. You're not the one that continuously expresses views in order to be in the limelight. You wait. You listen. You observe how everyone else speaks in circles. Then you intervene with one statement that changes the whole discussion. That's what causes people to stop and gaze. Not because you speak much, but because what you say is surgical, exact, and unshakable. Most people associate being loud with being intelligent. They hurry to fill every quiet with their own interpretation of the reality. But you've realized that timing is crucial. You don't divulge all you know at once. You drop it like a trapdoor. You wait for the exact time when it hits hardest, when they need to hear it. Not only when you feel like speaking. That is the kind of message that people will never forget. It's not about trying to be mysterious. It's about utilizing your words as tools rather than decorations. Every phrase has weight. Every discovery seems like it comes from a place of genuine depth, rather than rehashed phrases or surface-level thinking. This is why people pause when you talk. They're looking for the twist because you have a way of saying something that completely reframes the whole issue and makes everyone realize they've missed the broader picture. The fact is that your comments strike harder because they are delivered with caution. You don't speak solely to display your intelligence. You speak when your words cannot be ignored. People remember that. They remember how. Just one statement from you may cut through hours of noise and have them thinking about it for days. That isn't charisma. That is strategy. That's why people notice you. No, not more than you're letting on. Because if you can achieve that in one sentence, people will wonder what happens if you say everything you are thinking. Number 3, your eyes do not stray. They scan when people chat to you. This is not simply a chat. It feels like a scan. Your eyes do not move around the room. They do not stray due to boredom or distraction. They remain fixed, stable, and analyzing. And this confuses individuals more than they like to acknowledge, since it does not feel like regular eye contact. It seems like you're looking for something deeper than what they're saying, as if you are picking up signals that they did not want to transmit. You're not just hearing the words. You are interpreting the tone, hesitation, micro-expressions, and twitch preceding a lie. A grin that does not reach the eyes. The pause that does not fit the plot. People don't always understand what you're picking up on. They simply know. They feel observed in a manner that makes them uncomfortable. Not because you are condemning them, but because you are observing something they normally keep buried. Most people are used to glazed-over glances, feigned curiosity, and individuals waiting their time to speak. But your attention is not passive. It's sharply concentrated. It seems like you're seeing past the performance and into the code underneath. And you've already clocked it when someone recognizes they're either leaning in with respect or becoming uneasy and talking quicker to hide their feelings. It is not about intimidation. It is instinct. You've trained your eyes to notice things that others don't. You do not accept words at face value. You recognize patterns. You detect paradoxes. Your look is not harsh, but it is also not gentle. It is aware, and awareness makes individuals feel vulnerable, even if you're simply sitting quietly. That's why people speak about you after the room is cleared. They remark things like, "There's something about their eyes," or "I'm not sure." They felt like they could read me since you weren't simply listening. You were decrypting without judging or reacting, just calmly downloading everything. And that's what they can't stop thinking about. Number 4, you've accepted being misunderstood, which scares them. You do not bend yourself to be understood. And it is what shocks people. In a society where everyone is struggling to be accepted, loved, and perceived in the correct light, you've already let go of that desire. To be relatable, you don't have to overshare. You do not explain yourself only to be liked. You do not hurry to correct someone's preconceptions. You allow people to believe whatever they want, and you keep things going. That amount of self-control is unusual. It's disturbing, even though most people are accustomed to seeing others act a version of themselves for acceptance. However, you do not flinch when someone misjudges you. You don't respond when others try to cage you in. And that lack of response drives them insane because they understand they can't reach you in the same way they can other people. They begin obsessing, reliving conversation points, and reading between lines that may or may not exist. They attempt to come closer, not usually out of curiosity, but out of a need to understand what you're not giving them. And when they discover they can't provoke, flatter, or entice you into emotional confession, they get frustrated. You've taken away their control, and people now believe they have no impact. The reality is, you've already accepted becoming the villain in someone else's tale. You're all right. Being questioned, despised, or even dismissed because you do not care public opinion. That frightens those who want confirmation to feel authentic. You don't simply shun the spotlight. You make it unimportant. You've determined that your truth is enough, even if no one applauds it. That is not arrogance. That is clarity. The true twist. The more you remain unconcerned, the more people speak. The less you attempt to explain yourself, the more people want to understand you. Because mystery without performance is effective. You are not hesitant to play hard to get. You're just not performing at all. And for those who rely on reactions, this is a danger they are unprepared to deal with. Number 5, you say truth. People pretended not to know. When you speak, it cuts not because you are rude or loud, but because you utter things that others have hidden behind layers of polite denial. You do not sugarcoat the facts to make it more palatable. You don't use quick and delicate words to protect weak egos. You simply state it plainly, clearly, and without fuss. And when you do, it smacks them like a surprise punch since they knew it all along. They just refuse to confront it until you push them to. Most individuals construct their lives around silent compromises. They tell themselves half-truths to maintain peace, avoid disagreement, or remain comfortable. But when you talk, you illuminate the fractures. They're pretending, aren't they? You speak what everyone thinks, but are too frightened to confess it regarding relationships, about work, about the survival games humans play in systems meant to keep them tiny. You do not draw attention to some items. You just refuse to lie to yourself. And by doing so, you challenge everyone who remains. It isn't about being edgy or provocative. Your tolerance for illusion is poor. You don't take comfort in pretending everything is okay when it isn't. This makes people uncomfortable because it exposes their own avoidance. Your honesty does not cause drama. It demonstrates where the drama had already begun behind the scenes. People claim they desire honesty until they hear it without sugarcoating. But you don't talk only to be liked. You talk to a line to clear the air, saying, "Here's what's really going on," whether or if it earns you any admirers. And that's what distinguishes you. You do not speak truth to power as if it were a heroic thing. You communicate in a manner that makes it clear that power is frequently simply fear dressed up. And when you communicate like that, without filtering or flinching, people can't stop hearing it. You shake something free in them, something they were trying not to feel. They can no longer ignore. Number 6, your quiet is not loud. It is a lock. You are not silent because you have nothing to say. You're silent because you know precisely what has to be said and who should hear it. The difference is how others feel when they are around you. Your quiet is neither a lyrical statement or supernatural force. It's a filter, a gate, and a test. The knowing glance says, "I could explain, but you wouldn't understand." Not yet. That is what worries people the most. Most individuals experience quiet because they are uncomfortable with it. They believe that if nothing is spoken, then something is wrong. However, being silent does not feel like absence. It has the appearance of deliberate action. People can tell you're not zoning out. You're scanning, storing, measuring the temperature in the room, and taking notes. They don't even know you're writing. It's why people over-explain themselves to you, even if you don't ask. They start admitting stuff merely to relieve the stress. They want to fill the quiet because they feel vulnerable in it. Your silence makes their clamor seem cheap, and the reality upsets them because your energy makes them understand how much of what they say is empty surface chatter. Ego protection. Performance. You don't have to publicize what you know. Your vibe already suggests that you've seen more than you're letting on, and others pick up on it. They believe you're 5 moves ahead, but keep your cards near. This creates a tense situation that they cannot settle. So they're talking about your watch. You strive to find yourself out, not because you're mysterious in any nebulous, fashionable sense, but because your silence suggests you know something. The wildest thing is that you're not even trying. You're just guarding what's important, what you've learned and endured. Your quiet is not an attempt to hide. It's about maintaining power. People can't stop wondering what happens when you decide to talk. Number 7, you have a peaceful comfort with darkness. People don't grasp the calm inside you. It is not empty. This is not separation. It's the type of silence that comes from having spent enough time in the dark to no longer be afraid of it. You don't flinch at discomfort. You don't worry when things come apart, since you've already experienced your own collapse. You didn't simply endure it. You studied it. You made peace with aspects of yourself. Others are still attempting to conceal or deny. Most individuals are scared of their own shadow. They remain busy, noisy, and distracted, expecting not to have to confront the core issues. But you've already experienced pain, loss, failure, identity, and disintegration. And instead of fleeing, you remained long enough to learn the language. That is why you do not come across as performative. You don't need to gain strength. You are strong because you tackle life's challenges and emerge with clarity rather than resentment. You're not obsessed with being the light all the time because, well, that's not real. You know, development occurs in the ground, not on stage. People perceive it. They feel that you've gone through something or multiple things that have changed the way you move around the world. That's why people open up to you. They believe you will not criticize them for being untidy, raw, or lost because you have been there. You notice the indications, and you don't romanticize suffering. You just don't fear it anymore. You don't avoid difficult talks, uncomfortable silences, or strong emotions. You sit among them. You create room for them. That presence is unusual. It disturbs those who continue to strive for perfection, but it appeals to those who are ready to cease pretending. You did not read about resilience in a book. You constructed it brick by brick in the dark when no one was looking, and a peaceful intimacy with the darkness. It makes you unshakable because you are already aware. Nothing in the dark can break you that hasn't already tried. Number 8. You do not share your thoughts. You dispel illusions. You do not speak only to express your opinion. You don't express fashionable thoughts. Use inventive sound bites to play the role of devil's advocate or chase likes. What you say does not exist on the surface. It attacks the basis while others argue over symptoms. You take the root out, not to sound dramatic, but you can see what's underlying the cacophony. And when you talk, you don't merely question someone's point of view. It jeopardizes the conceptual framework on which they have based their identities. Most individuals see their beliefs as a safety net. It is not only what people think, it's how they remain upright. So when you casually shatter a delusion that they've built their whole existence around, it hurts hard. They may not always respond openly, but something changes within. There's a crack, an uncertainty. You did not attempt to win the debate. You merely proved that it was never solid in the first place. That is what makes your presence so strong. You do not argue. You undo. You point out the blind area. You speak the awkward thing. You uncover the hidden cost of the myth that everyone is buying into. The fact that you don't force it adds to its disarming effect. You're calm, uncertain, and unsettled, as if you've already demolished yourself within. So you can see where people are still holding to barriers that won't hold when you communicate. People don't just feel challenged. They feel vulnerable, as if something weak within them has suddenly been called out. And they can't say they didn't hear it. They leave shaken, not because you assaulted them, but because you disclosed a reality they'd been avoiding for years. That is not something people forget. You aren't here to discuss. You aren't interested in being correct. You are here to disclose the truth. And when you do, illusions don't just break. They collapse. Number 9. You don't just have insight. You are living in a concealed architecture. People see your life in a unique way. Not because you boast about your ideas or accomplishments, but because an unseen blueprint directs all you do. When you enter into a room, it is not at random. Every glimpse, pause, and decision is part of a design. Only you truly comprehend people's senses. Even if they can't express it in words, they find themselves attempting to figure out the pattern, the theory underlying what seems to be easy control. It worries them since they don't have the map you're using. Most individuals wander through life, responding to circumstances in cycles of chaos or regularity with no clear direction. But you aren't wandering. You are traveling on an invisible compass. Your quiet is not nothingness. It's an intentional stop, a method to gain strength before continuing. Your remarks are not random. They are exact drips in a bigger scheme that the casual observer cannot see. People observe this without understanding why. They start to impose myths and legends onto you, attempting to explain what they do not grasp. This concealed architecture is much more than simply strategy and organization. It is deeper. It is about having a central vision or goal that guides all decisions, even those that seem little or inconsequential. It's a calm assurance that comes from knowing your life is coherent, even if it seems chaotic on the outside. And because you don't expose the framework, people feel tormented by it. They are curious in what you are building underneath the quiet exterior. They're torn between admiration and jealousy, curiosity and dissatisfaction. You don't need to explain your actions or defend your decisions since they're all part of something greater. This invisible framework within which you live is a source of power that others cannot touch, but cannot ignore. It's why they keep mentioning you. They don't just see a person. They feel a power subtly altering the world around them. And this, more than anything else, makes you memorable. Number 10, you make people doubt their own story. When you're nearby, people start hearing a new type of silence, one that disrupts their whole internal dialogue. You do not challenge them with arguments or forced discussions, but your very presence causes them to pause and reconsider the tales they have been telling themselves. Stories about who they are, what they desire, and what they think is achievable become weak. It's not about you criticizing their views. It's about how you live so truly and purposefully that it exposes the flaws in their own carefully constructed stories. Most individuals live in comfortable tales that explain their decisions and save them from confronting harsh realities. Those tales keep people going ahead without the need to ask difficult questions. However, when you join the scene, something about your energy rips the rug out from beneath. It's delicate, nearly imperceptible, but strong. They will sense the change even if you do not say anything. They begin to rethink their objectives, ideals, and even the relationships they believed were stable. You sparked those internal civil wars in which everything familiar is suddenly up for discussion. This impact is unsettling for many people because it drives them to address issues they may have avoided for years. It's not nice to learn that the road you've taken may not be the one you genuinely desire, or, worse, that the version of yourself you've been presenting to the world is a mask. These facades, however, do not hold true for you. You do not offer folks simple answers or solutions. Instead, you create a place where difficult questions may fester until they demand attention. You are not attempting to demolish individuals for the purpose of it. You're so firmly rooted in your own truth and clarity that people around you can't help but see their own contradictory acts and doubts mirrored back. And once that occurs, there is no way back to comfortable ignorance. You force others to confront themselves, and that power is both feared and revered. Number 1, you don't fit in since you were designed to rebuild. You've never quite fit the mold, and this is not an accident. You were not created to fit in or follow the rules. Instead, you exist to upend things, to call into question the fundamental underpinnings that everyone else takes for granted. While most individuals concentrate on adapting and living inside the system, you can see that the system is wrong. A home constructed on unsteady ground, with fissures concealed behind layers of paint and distraction. Your duty isn't to maintain the machinery working well. It's to disassemble it piece by piece until the truth is revealed. You're programmed to question what's been normalized in order to detect the rigging, hidden threads, and unseen puppeteers. This makes you a natural disruptor. Someone who not only thinks beyond the box, but recognizes that the box itself has to be removed. People around you may expect you to smooth your edges or tone down your remarks, but you resist. You don't merely dispute the rules. You doubt the reasoning behind the regulations. You reject institutions that keep people tiny and quiet. Instead, you dismantle the illusions that make such systems seem unstoppable or invincible. This makes you dangerous in the eyes of many. They see your failure to fit in as revolt. But it's something deeper, a call to rebuild. You aren't interested in preserving crumbling buildings just because they are familiar. You want to create something authentic, honest, and long-lasting. That's why you'll constantly feel like you're out of place. Because you weren't meant to mix. You were designed to rebuild. A number. You maintain the calm of someone who has previously survived the fire. Your tranquility isn't some flimsy piece you happened across by coincidence. It is not the type of serenity that stems from ignorance or avoidance. It's the hard-earned serenity of someone who has survived upheaval that might have destroyed them, but did not. You confronted the fire, felt the heat sear every part of your body, and stepped out the other side. When others around you lose control and scramble for explanations, you move with a serene confidence that unsettles them. You are not untouched by the pandemonium. Far from it. You carry every scar, burn mark, and lesson learnt deep inside you. That recollection does not tire you out. It keeps you steady. It reminds you that whatever is going on right now is only another flame to pass through, not a barricade to impede people's senses. This is how they look at you. They don't always know what you've gone through, but they see that you're composed, not brittle or forced. It is a survival instinct, an old kind of power that whispers, "I've seen worse." That assurance, founded on experience rather than hope, is magnetic. It causes people to lean in, even if they don't quite understand why. Because, in a world filled with stress and noise, your tranquility seems to be the only genuine thing in the room. This is not about pretending everything is okay or concealing your emotions. It is about how suffering did not shatter you. It altered you. You don't flee from storms anymore. You face them full on because you know the fire won't devour you. It refines you and provides a sense of tranquility. It both frightens and inspires since it represents someone who is not just surviving, but also ascending. A number. People believe you could demolish, but chose not to. People sense it from the minute they meet you. There is a force under your surface that does not need a roar to be heard. If released, this force has the potential to rock foundations and destroy barriers. However, you do not release it. You keep it back. Not because you're terrified of what can happen, but because you comprehend the significance and consequences of each action. That command of constraint is not a weakness. It's a purposeful decision, indicating that you're working on a different level. Many individuals mistake persistent force for strength. They believe that the loudest, most aggressive, and most reactive are in charge. But you know better. You've learned that genuine power isn't about displaying your abilities. It's about knowing when not to do anything. The calm firmness in holding back causes tension. It makes people apprehensive. They feel the storm you may create. This alone keeps them on edge. Your forbearance is purposeful. It demonstrates that you are not here to destroy bridges or spend energy establishing your supremacy. Instead, you save your strength for the times that actually count, when the stakes are high and the effect must be permanent. This makes your presence attractive and your effect subtle but evident. People can't help but appreciate someone who is so certain of their authority. They don't need to prove it. What scares them the most is that your quiet is not passive. It's a loaded pause, full with potential energy, waiting for the ideal time to be released. That control makes your potential more formidable than those who continuously want to dominate by loudness and violence. Because power that is hidden elicits more terror and respect than power that is constantly shown. In a society hooked to turmoil and flare, choosing to hold back is a revolution in and of itself. It's a modest statement that power isn't about destruction, but about mastery. And that expertise makes you memorable. Number, you aren't only ahead. You are working from a separate level of reality. You don't just play the game. You reside on a plane where the game seems different, while everyone else is engrossed in their plays, plans, and diversions. You are viewing the whole image. You are not bound by the same rules or patterns as those described above. Understanding the underlying physics and rewriting how the pieces move in an understated manner. This kind of viewpoint does not happen by chance. It is gained via constant observation, profound understanding, and an unwillingness to accept surface-level thinking. Most individuals are always playing catch-up, responding to what is in front of them. They race to control what is apparent, ignoring the forces that shape everything behind the scenes. You don't spend energy on short-term victories or little rivalries because you can see beyond them. You work on a distinct wavelength, measuring time, impact, and consequences in ways that others do not consider. This is why people can't stop talking about you. They ultimately understand you're more than simply a step ahead. You are on a whole new level. You are the quiet power that others should have seen sooner. While they battle over leftovers, he discreetly rewrites the story. Your presence causes people to doubt all they thought they understood. You don't flaunt your vantage position. You do not drop clues only to prove it. You just walk with the assurance of someone who understands that the rules do not apply to them in the same manner. That alone disturbs individuals because it disrupts their sense of order and control. Finally, what distinguishes you as genuinely threatening is that you are not only knowledgeable, you are transforming. You are not merely ahead of the game. You're redefining the game, and it represents a change in reality. Most people don't see what's coming until it happens. Being one of the selected does not imply flaunting knowledge or broadcasting power. It's a quiet, unwavering energy that exists under the surface, the type of presence that causes others to pause and pay note, even when you say less than they anticipate. It's in your reluctance to comply that you demonstrate your mastery of discipline, as seen by the scars you wear as armor from conflicts most people will never endure. You do not just respond to the environment around you. You function at a higher level of reality, recognizing patterns and realities where others perceive myths, dismantling illusions, not to cause turmoil, but to pave the way for something meaningful. People can't stop talking about you because you disrupt their comfy narratives, causing them to reconsider everything they believed was definite. They sense your strength not in a display of force, but in the serenity that comes with surviving flames and going through darkness without losing yourself. Your eyes don't just gaze, they decipher. Your words do not just talk, they reveal the falsehoods that authority hides behind. Most importantly, your life is a concealed, purposeful, and unbreakable plan that challenges the current quo without shouting. What actually distinguishes you is not what you expose, but what you choose to conceal. Not for the sake of quiet, but because we understand that certain facts are best handled with precision. You don't fit in because you weren't designed to manage damaged systems. You exist to rebuild, to shatter illusions, and to demonstrate that true power isn't noisy or transient. It's peaceful, stable, and firmly planted in a society obsessed with noise, turmoil, and continual affirmation. Your presence is a revolution in silence and clarity. You don't just live ahead of the curve. You operate on a whole separate level, changing the laws while others scurry in uncertainty. And that, more than anything else, is why people can't stop mentioning you. Because they know they are experiencing something unique, honest, and deeply genuine. You're not merely picked. You are the driving force behind what it really means to be selected. If this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the subscribe button to join the adventure, like the video to show your support, and leave a comment below with your ideas or experiences. Your voice counts here, and if you know anybody who needs to hear this truth, please share it with them. Let us create a community that looks past the surface and celebrates what it really means to be among the chosen. Thank you for becoming part of something bigger.